Hey guys, it's Landon Blake with taughtbysurveyor.org. This is the second video we're doing on basic algebra. So the first video, if you haven't watched it, go ahead and do that. It talks about why we throw numbers in math and we define some terms. We talk about the special ways we write multiplication and division in algebra. In this video, we're actually going to do some algebra. So we're going to talk about the basic tools in algebra. I mentioned in that first video, the way I want you guys to start thinking about math is like a toolbox. It's like a toolbox and it's got all kinds of tools inside of it that you can use to solve real problems. That's how surveyors use math. It's very practical, non-theoretical, and not abstract. That's one of the reasons why before I became a surveyor, I really struggled with math. And then once I got into college and started to see how math could be used to solve real problems, I got super excited about it, and math became a lot easier for me. So hopefully we will get you started on that journey in this video if you're not a mathematical protege, if you're not a math fan. All right, so we're going to put some tools in the toolbox today. Now you guys already have some tools in your toolbox if you're watching this video. So you have what I like to call the basic arithmetic tools, right? Addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. Those are in your toolbox. Those are kind of the four basic tools that we use to solve lower level math, right? The kind of math in the United States that you would learn in elementary school. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to put some other tools in that box, tools that you don't have yet. Okay, now they're related to the basic arithmetic tools, but they're a little bit different because now we're throwing letters and symbols into the mix. We talked about that in the first video. So these are the tools that we're going to teach you in the video. We're going to teach you about the combination tool, the combo tool, or keep it simple, stupid. We're going to teach you how to simplify expressions. We're going to teach about the addition tool in algebra, the subtraction tool in algebra, the multiplication tool in algebra, and the division tool in algebra. And you can see these are, again, based on the basic tools of arithmetic that you guys already know, right? These four right here. This is just arithmetic, right? You guys already know how to do this, so that's why I don't know how to spell arithmetic. Isn't that horrible? Anyways, these are the tools of arithmetic. I told you spelling was not my strong suit. Okay, and then this tool right here is just kind of a special type of multiplication. Okay, this one right here, special type of multiplication. The square root tool. It's actually a special type of multiplication and division the way I've grouped it here. Okay. So, you know, most of the tools in algebra are built on the tools of arithmetic. And we're enhancing the toolkit that you already have, basically. So, you know, you don't have to be scared. Algebra is just addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication, basically. Okay, with letters and symbols. All right. So, we're going to teach you how to use these tools. Okay, now the first tool, the combo tool, okay, that the technical mathematical term is known as simplification. Okay, and you can apply this tool here to expressions. Okay. The rest of these tools really work on equations. We talked about the difference in the first video. So I'm going to just explain the combo tool with an expression. Okay. So we're going to write out here 3x plus 2x minus 10 plus 4 equals 2. That's too small of a number. Let's do 200 equals 200. Okay. All right. So the combination tool means you want to group together the terms that you can group together whenever you can. Okay. In other words, you want to reduce the number of terms. You want to combine terms together when you can. That's why it's called the combo tool. Okay, and what that does is it's what mathematicians call simplification. It simplifies the expression. Okay, now I'm going to just give you some rules. I'm going to give you a couple rules. I don't want to call them rules. Give you a couple tips, a couple guidelines on how you can simplify, okay, expressions or how you use the combo tool. Okay, so here's your first rule. You want to combine the numbers first. So if you got something in your expression that looks just like a regular number, combine those first. Okay. Then we want to combine terms with a variable with the same variable or symbol. Okay, that's your unknown value that you're trying to solve for in algebra most of the time. Same variable or symbol. Okay, and then I'm just going to give you a little tip here. Okay, the tip is watch your exponent. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. Which means we got to talk about exponents. Okay. I'm actually going to simplify this a little bit. I want this to be an expression, not an equation. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Now it's an expression. Okay, so let's just go through our two steps here, our two tips, two rules, guidelines, whatever you want to call them. And we're going to try and simplify these terms. Okay, so we can always combine the numbers first. So we go through and we say, hey, what do I have in here that looks like a real number? Okay, well that looks like a real number, that looks like a real number, and these look like real numbers. Okay, but the problem is this is a term. Okay, so we can't split the 3 up from the x and the 2 up from the x just using the combo tool. Okay, we got to group these together. These are terms. So we're looking for numbers that are by themselves in the term. Remember, the plus and minus signs separate the terms. Okay, so we can't do anything with the 2 and the 3 right now in this first step because we just are looking for numbers by themselves. Okay, maybe we should write that out as a rule, as a tip there. Okay. So when I say combine numbers first, we're looking for lonely numbers, okay? So numbers that aren't part of a term with a symbol or a variable, okay? So in this case, we've got 10 and 4. We can combine those. Okay, now here's where the operator, if you don't know what that is, go back and watch the first video. The operator becomes important. Okay, so what we really have here is we have a negative 10 and a positive 14. So when you're going to combine numbers like this, you got to reach out and grab the operator that's in front of the number, not behind, in front. Okay, so what we're really doing here is we're adding a negative 10 to a 4. We're adding a plus 4 and a negative 10. Okay, we're going to combine those or add them together. Okay, so what we're going to get from that is we're going to get a negative 6. Right? That's what happens when you add a negative 10 and a positive 4. You get a negative 6. Okay, so we can rewrite our expression now because we've simplified that. So now we have 3x plus 2x, okay, minus 6. Don't forget, this operator right here is really important. You don't want to get it switched. If it's a negative 6 here, it's got to be a negative 6 here. Okay, so now you can see we've eliminated one term. This has 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we've got 3 terms, 1, 2, 3, right? So we use the combo tool to simplify, keep it simple, stupid. Okay, now we can simplify a little bit more with this second step. So then we can combine terms with the same variable or symbol. So what I want you to do is go through, let's just go through and say, all right, now where do we have terms with the same symbol or variable? Okay, this is an x, and this is an x, okay? Which means these two can be combined with the combo tool, okay? Now, right here I give you this tip, watch for your exponent. You don't have to worry about that yet. We're going to do another example where you have to worry about the exponent, but we don't have to worry about it yet, okay? So, now again, you got to watch your sign. Now, you might say to yourself, Landon, what's the sign of 3x? Okay, if it's at the front, it doesn't always have a sign in front of it if it's positive, okay? So it should really be written like this, plus 3x, okay? If it's negative, you always have to write the sign in front of it. That's just a rule, okay? But if you see it like this with no operator in the front of the first term, okay, you just got to pretend there's a plus there. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to combine plus 3x and plus 2x. The way you do that is you leave the variable or the symbol and you just add the numbers. Okay, so when we get 3 and 2 is 5, okay, then we got to leave the x. So that simplifies to 5x. Okay, so now we're going to rewrite out the whole formula. Simplified, 5x minus 6. Sorry, it's 5x minus 6 because it's not an equation. Okay? All right, now let's just do one more example. An easy example, and then we're going to do an example with some exponents. Okay, and then we're going to do one with an equation. Okay, so we're going to do one more simple example. So I'm going to say 4y plus 2y minus 10. Okay, let's simplify that. Okay, so the first thing we do is we go through and we look for numbers. Okay, so I've got a number here. I got a lonely number, right? It's all by itself, negative 10. Okay, but there's no other numbers, so I can't simplify there, right? So that's all we can do. We got to leave negative 10 by itself. Then we go through and we look for terms that have the same variable. Okay, so we have that here. We have two y's, right? So we can combine these. Don't forget, this is the first term. If it doesn't have a negative sign, there's a positive sign. Okay, so what happens when we combine a positive 4y and a positive 2y? Remember, you just drop the numbers down. 6, bring the variable down, 6y minus 10. Simplified. Okay. Now, let's do another example. Okay. It's going to get a little more complicated. We're going to say 3x minus y plus 2y minus 4x plus 7 minus 2y. Let's combine them. Now, this time I added two variables, okay? But the same rules apply. You just follow the same two steps I gave you. So let's go step one. Let's go find lonely numbers. We've only got one lonely number here, positive 7. There's nothing else we can do with that. We just got to leave it, okay? All right, now we go through and we say, all right, we're looking for things with the same variable, okay? So this 3x has the same variable as this negative 4x over here. Okay, but now we've got some y's. I'm going to put those in a different color. We got a negative y here. We got a positive 2y here. And we got a negative 2y here. Now you notice I'm always going out to grab my operator in front. Don't forget to do that or you're going to mess up your sign, your positive and your negative. Okay, now when you see a variable like this by itself, this minus y, what I like to do is you just pretend there's a 1 in front of it. Okay, for some reason, if it's just a single y or a single x or a single variable, they leave out the 1. I don't know why they do that. I like to write it in there. It helps me remember. Okay, so now we can combine our terms just like we did before. Okay, so if we have a if we have a positive, it's the first term, so you got to write your plus in there. We got a positive 3x and a negative 4x. That's negative 1x. Okay. Okay, then we've got a negative 1y and a negative 2y. If we combine those, we get a negative 3y. Okay. Oh, but we got a positive 2y here. So see, we got three terms. Okay, so if we take a negative 1y plus a 2y, that's a negative 1y minus a 2y is actually negative 3y. Right? Nope, I'm dorking something up here. Let me try that again. Negative 1y plus a 2y gives us a negative 1y, and it's negative 3y. Okay, negative 3y. Nope, I'm still messing that up. Negative 1 plus a 2 is 1. Positive 1y minus a 2y is negative 1y. Okay, you got to be careful. All right, so we got negative 1x minus negative 1, negative y plus 7. Okay, because this comes back down. Okay, so our y's go to here. Our x's go to here. This is our simplified expression. Negative 1x minus 1y plus 7. Okay, that's the simplified expression. Okay, now let's do one with an exponent. Okay, and then we'll do one with an equal sign. We'll do an equation. Okay. So an exponent is a little number written after another number. Okay, So let me just give you an example. It could be 3 cubed. That's what we call 3 cubed. Okay, or it could be x squared. Okay, this little number right here is called the exponent, and it's just a shortcut. It's a shorthand way of writing the number times itself that number of times. So 3 cubed, or 3 to the third, is 3 times 3 times 3. Those are equal, mean the same thing. X squared means x times x. Okay. Now there's a whole bunch of rules for exponents. I don't know, I might do a separate video on that. We'll have to see, but as a general rule, as a surveyor, you're only working with these exponents. Okay. Now, in algebra, if you see an exponent, if you see a variable like this, and it doesn't have an exponent, you can write a little imaginary 1 there if you want. That just means the number itself. Okay. So x to the 1 is just x. Okay. But you can see when we start using our combo tool, sometimes it helps to just write this little 1 here. Okay, so let me give you an example. So if we have 2x squared plus 3x minus 2y minus y plus 7 minus 1x squared. We want to simplify that. Now, here's what I would do just to make it easier. We're going to rewrite this in Landon form. Okay, that's what we're going to call it. Or maybe we'll call it surveyor form. We're going to write it out in surveyor form to make it easier to simplify with the combo tool. So you remember, we can always put a plus here on the first term if there isn't a negative. So we're going to say plus 2x squared plus 3x. Now, I'm going to put to the 1 here because it just makes it easier for me. 3x to the 1 minus 2y to the 1 minus 1y to the 1. That's right. We can put a 1 in front of there. It's just missing. They left it out. Plus 7 minus 1x squared. Okay, this is surveyor form, and it just makes it a little easier to use the combo tool. Okay, surveyor form. All right, so now let's combine our terms. So let's go to our rules. We're looking for lonely numbers first. Okay, we only have one lonely number. It's positive 7. Okay, so we can put that down here. We can't get rid of it. We can't combine it. Okay, then we go through and we look for terms with the same variable. Okay, but remember my tip, they also have to have the same exponent. So let's do x first. Okay, we've got an x here, but it's x to the second. It's x squared. This is x to the first. We can't combine these now because they have a different exponent. Okay, so they're both x's, but they have a different exponent. This is y to the 1, y to the 1. Guess what? We can combine these because they're the same variable and they're the same exponent. So this becomes 3y to the 1. Okay. Now, if we come back and look, we've got a 1x squared down here and a 2x squared down here. Same variable, same exponent. Those can be combined. Okay, so a positive 2x squared minus a 1x squared, that is going to simplify to 1x squared. Okay, now we can't do anything with the 3x to the 1 because we don't have any other terms with just x to the 1 in it, right? So that has to drop down. So you got to come grab your plus sign, don't forget, plus 3x to the 1. Okay, and then this is a negative 3y to the 1 because I got to come out here and grab this negative sign. Okay, and then the last term down here, we already combined. Okay, so then we bring up our plus 7. Okay, so there's the simplified expression. 1x squared plus 3x to the 1 minus 3y to the 1 plus 7. Okay, that's in surveyor form. Now let's put it back in regular algebra form. So if we put it back in regular algebra form, we get rid of the plus on the front term. Okay, and then we're going to get rid of these 1 exponents because people that really do math for a living don't like that. So here's the simplified expression back in algebra form. 1x squared plus 3x, we're getting rid of the 1, minus 3y, getting rid of that little 1 exponent, plus 7. That's what your math teacher wants to see when you're all done. Okay? All right, now, I'm going to teach you a very important rule in algebra. This is the one rule you can never break when you're doing algebra. And I'm going to show you how it works with the combo tool. When you see an equation in algebra, when you see this equal sign, I want you to pretend that the meanest math teacher you've ever met in your life has gone in and drawn an impenetrable wall of titanium down your math paper. And if you want to move something from one side of the equal sign to the other, you got to get it over that immensely thick titanium wall. Okay? And so the rule in algebra is whatever you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other side of the equal sign. Okay? That's the only way to get something over the titanium wall. Okay, now I'm going to do two other quick tools. We're going to do these next two, the addition tool and the subtraction tool. Okay, so we're just going to work some simple equations. So I'm going to say 3y plus 7 equals 22. Okay, now remember, the equal sign is that titanium wall that your angry math teacher put down your sheet of paper. You got to be very careful when you cross that wall, right? You got to make sure whatever you do to one side of the wall, you do to the other side of the wall. Now, we're going to immediately use our combo tool because we can do that. Okay, so you can see we've got two lonely numbers here. We've got a plus 7 and we got a plus 22. We can combine those. Okay, I'm actually going to make this 23 because it'll make the algebra a little easier. See, you get to do that when you're the teacher. I'm going to make this 23. Sorry. Okay, so we want to combine those terms, those lonely numbers. Okay, so a positive 7 and a positive 23 becomes a positive 30. Okay, now the only thing that's left over here is a 3y. Can't simplify it any more than that. We've got it as simple as we can with the combo tool. Okay, now we're going to use this next tool. Let me think about what I just did for a minute. Oh, yeah, okay. So what we did there, no, I goofed that all up. I'm going to have to stop the video and redo it. All right, let me try this again. That's what happens when you don't rehearse these before. Okay, so we're going to actually use some of these tools now to solve an equation, okay, which is what you try and do when you're using algebra. And I've actually, when you've been using the combo tool to combine terms, whenever you cross the wall, we're actually using the addition and subtraction tool. Okay? I didn't tell you that. It was a secret. But you've already actually seen these two tools. When we use the combo tool with the equal sign and we're moving across the wall, we're actually using the addition tool and the subtraction tool. So let's look at an example of that. Okay, so let's look at this equation here. We've got 3x plus 2 equals 26 minus x. And in algebra, what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to solve for the unknown values. So we want to know what does x equals. Okay, we want to try and get x by itself. Okay, so that's the whole goal in algebra. When you have an equation with one variable, you're trying to get the variable by itself on one side of the equal sign. Okay, it doesn't matter which side. You get the variable by itself. That tells you the value of the variable. You'll have the variable or the symbol, some symbol, x equals what? That's what we want to know. When you look at this, we don't know what the value of x is yet. We're going to use algebra to figure it out. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do, remember, we go back to the combo tool. We want to try and combine tools, combine terms, sorry. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look for lonely numbers. So I've got a lonely number here, a plus 2, and I got a lonely number here. That's a positive 26, right? We're just going to write in that positive sign because it'll help us remember. Okay, so remember in algebra, what we do to one side of the equal sign, the titanium wall that your angry math teacher drew down your sheet, we got to do it to the other side. Okay, so if I want to combine these two terms, right? I want to get rid of the 2, okay, from this side, and I want to put it over here with the 26. So in order to do that, I've got to subtract 2 over here. Okay. Okay, so if I do it to this side of the equal sign, I have to do it to this side of the equal sign. So if I subtract 2 over here, I've got to subtract 2 over here. Okay. All right, so what does that give us? So if we have 3x plus a 2 and minus a 2, okay, these in algebra, what we just did is we canceled these out. Okay, plus 2 minus 2 equals 0. So this goes away, right? So what we have here, if you want to write it out this way, if it makes it easier to understand, we have 3x plus 0. Okay, now if we subtracted 2 from over here, we got to do it over here. So 3x plus 0 equals 24 minus x. Okay, so we got to subtract 2 over here. Okay, that was an example of using the subtraction tool, right? We subtracted from both sides of the equation. Okay, now this simplifies a little more. 3x plus 0 is just 3x. You can get rid of the 0. 3x equals 24 minus x. Okay, but we don't have x by itself yet, right? So now we're going to use the addition tool. You see I've got a negative x here. Okay, we can rewrite that to make it a little simpler. We can rewrite it as negative 1x. Okay, negative 1x. Okay, and I've got a 3x over here. So I want to try and get all the x's, all the variables on one side of the equation. Okay. So to do that, we're going to use the addition tool, because if you see, if I add 1x here, okay, a negative 1x plus 1x cancels out. That becomes 0, just like I showed you before. Okay, but don't forget the rule. If we do it on this side of the titanium wall, we got to do it on this side of the titanium wall. Otherwise, it doesn't equal anymore. Okay, we violate that fundamental rule of algebra. Okay, so I need to subtract 1x from this side. Sorry, add 1x. Got to add 1x to this side. Okay, so 3x plus 1x becomes 4x. Okay, equals 24. And we're almost done, but not quite. We got one more rule to use. We need to use the division tool. Okay, so you got to remember in algebra, 4x means 4 times x, right? Okay, so if it helps, you can write it in parentheses. 4 times x equals 24. Okay, so if we divide this side by 4, okay, 4x divided by 4, these 4's are going to cancel out. That's how division works. Okay, but if we're going to do it to this side of the equal sign on this side of the wall, we got to do it on the other side of the wall. So we're going to put 24 over 4. We're going to divide this side by 4. Okay, so if we rewrite that, what do we get? So come down here. Okay, now we get x by itself, which is what we wanted, equals 24 divided by 4 is 6. So we just solved our first algebra equation to find the value of an unknown, x. X equals 6. Now, if you want to check that, here's a nice thing about algebra. You can always bring your answer back up and plug it into the original formula and see if it works. So let's do that. Okay. So if we have 3 times x, which is 6, so 3 times 6 plus 2, we want to know, does that equal 26 minus 6? So let's just do the math. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 2 is 20. Does that equals 26 minus 6 is 20? Yes, it equals. X is equal to 6. Now in that example, we used every one of these tools. except for number 6, the square root tool. We'll do that in a separate video. Okay, so let's work another example. All right. So we're going to say, 8y plus 4 equals 36. We're going to make this a little simpler. Okay, now don't forget, we got to draw our titanium wall here. Our angry math teacher comes in and says, whatever you do to the left side of the equal sign, you must do to the right side. Okay, so we can't really simplify this with the combo tool, right? It's already as simple as it gets. Okay, so we want to say, all right, we're trying to get y by itself, right? So the first thing I look at is, all right, can I get rid of this term right here, this positive 4? Because that'll help me get y by itself. It doesn't do the whole job, but it'll help. Sure I can. If I have 4 over here and I want to get positive 4 here and I want to get rid of it, okay, then I want to subtract 4. Okay, if I do it to this side, I got to do it to the other side. So we're going to make that subtract 4 from that side. Okay, so let's write our new equation. Okay, so we get 8y. Okay, these cancel, right? It'd be a plus 0, but we're not going to write that. Actually, I will write it just since we're learning. Okay, 8y plus 0 equals 36 minus 4 equals 32. Okay, so we'll simplify that a little more. Okay, so now we've got 8y equals 32. Now we don't quite have y by itself here because we still have the 8. Okay, so remember in algebra, this really means 8 multiplied by y, 8 times y, equals 32. Sometimes it helps to write it in the parentheses because then you can remember what to do to get rid of the 8. We're going to use the division tool. We're going to divide by 8, both sides. Okay, so what that leaves us, the 8's cancel, right, over here. So we get y equals 32 divided by 8, which is 4. Y equals 4. Now, you always go back, plug the number back into your formula, and make sure you didn't goof something up. So let's just try it up here. So we have 8 times 4 plus 4. We want to know, does that equal 36? 8 times 4 is 32 plus 4 equals 36. Our answer is correct. Y equals 4. Okay, now I'm going to do one more because I haven't showed you guys the multiplication tool yet. And then we'll end the video. Okay? Then we'll do a separate video on the square root tool. Okay, so here's our equation. We're going to have 3/5 x plus 8 equals, now let me do this in my mind real quick. I want to try and get some numbers that work, some clean numbers. Okay, so we're going to draw our super thick, immense titanium wall where the equal sign is. So we don't forget to do the same thing to both sides of the equal sign. Okay, now the very first thing I want to do, I always try and use my addition tool or subtraction tool first. I can see right away here that I want to get rid of my 8. That'll help me get x by itself. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides of the equation. Okay, so what are we going to get? Okay, what that means is we're going to get 3/5 x equals 60. Okay, so we're getting closer now. Okay, but we're not done. We don't have x by itself yet. Now, remember, in algebra, you got two numbers next to each other. That means multiplication. So what we really have here is this fraction 3/5 times x, okay, equals 60. Okay. Now, how do we get rid of that? Okay, I'm going to show you how to do that by rewriting this equation a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is 3/5 x is the same as 3x divided by 5 equals 60. this makes it a little easier to figure out how to get rid of the x. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to get rid of the 5 here on the bottom, the denominator. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to multiply both sides by 5, right? Because if I do that, these 5's cancel. Okay, but if I multiply this side by 5, I got to multiply this side by 5. Okay, so let's rewrite that math. So now I have 3x equals 300. Okay, the tool that we just used here, we multiply both sides of the equal sign. That's the multiplication tool. Okay, so now we have 3x equals 300. Okay, we're going to use the division tool to finish this off. Right, we're going to divide both sides by 3. The 3's over here cancel. That leaves us with x by itself equals 300 divided by 3 is 100. We're going to come all the way back up to the top and check our answer. Okay, so 3/5 times 100. Okay, plus 8. We want to know, does that equal 68? Okay, so 3/5 times 100 is 60, plus 8 equals 68. So that checks. So now we've used all these tools, except for the last one, the square root tool, which we will do in a separate video. And I don't know, I might have to do that next week because I think my brain's about algebra'd out. Okay, so hopefully this is helping you guys a little bit. Remember some of your high school algebra. So we'll take a break. I don't know, I'll think about if I got enough juice in me to do the square root tool. Okay? All right, guys.